and said, if the 5 was missing, okay, if the 5 was missing, what would you do to find out what this number is? Alright, what would you do to find out what this number is? Okay, and just by looking at it, you can probably tell that the box is 5. Right, because 10 plus 5 equals 15. So that's one way of doing it, just by guessing and checking. So if I told you 22 plus a box is 27, you can probably tell me that the box is 5 again. Right, and let's do another one. 33 plus let's do a triangle now, is 34. So the triangle must equal 1. Alright, and if I told you 50 minus a box, let's not do a box, let's do a funny flower shape, equals 20. Alright, so you can probably tell me that the flower shape is 30. Okay, so that is simply replacing an unknown number with a symbol. Now, these symbols are a bit random, alright, because, or you might find that, you know, they're a bit hard to draw and a bit random. And in maths, we like to be consistent. So the first symbol that we're going to use, instead of boxes or triangles or flowers, is X. Okay, so we're just going to replace these questions with X. So find X. Okay, so question 1, 2 plus X equals 5. Now notice how the way that I write X is like 2 brackets next to each other. Okay, so instead of writing X, some people write it like this. Okay, make sure you don't write X's like a time symbol, because people get that confused pretty easily. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to do these and then come back when you're done. Okay, so now that you have figured it out, let's have a look at the answers. 2 plus a number is 5, so that number must be 3. 30 minus a number is 27, number must be 3 again. 50 plus a number is 55, so that number must be 5. 30 times a number is 60, that number must be 2. 50 divided by number is 25, that number must be 2. Okay, so you probably didn't even need to think to do these questions, right? Well, this is what algebra is mostly, is just figuring out what the number, what the container X represents. So in these questions you figure out what X is, and a lot of algebra questions in junior high school is just figuring out what X equals. So it's not very hard. Okay, so what if we get presented with a more difficult problem? So what we want to do now is help you understand some ways of manipulating numbers in an expression. So if we have something like let's say 30 plus 3 equals 33. Now you can actually rewrite this expression by moving the plus 3 onto the right hand side, and you'll notice that if you move a term to the other side of the equal sign, the operation in front of the term becomes its inverse operation. So what that means is we now write this equation as 30 equals 33 minus 3. Okay, and you can see that it still equals each other. The left hand side still equals the right hand side. So this equation is valid. So here we have two valid equations. Okay, so I just want you to practice that on this equation here. Let's do 5 minus 2 equals 3. Okay, so we can move the minus 2 to the other side, which becomes 5 equals 3 plus 2. And both of these equations are valid. Now the same thing works with numbers that don't have a sign. So in this equation, for example, 5 minus 2 equals 3. The number in front of 5, because it's a positive 5, right? If we move the 5 to the other side, it becomes negative 2 equals 3 minus 5. Okay, and these equations are both valid. If you are uncomfortable with negative numbers, you probably need to do a tutorial on that as well. I'll probably make one like that soon. So we can also move the term on the right hand side to the left hand side. So in this equation, if we have 5 minus 2 equals 3, and obviously the 3 is a positive 3. If we move the 3 to the left hand side, then it becomes 5 minus 2 minus 3 equals, and because we have nothing left on the right hand side, 0. Okay, so again, both of these are valid equations. So this is just showing you that you're allowed to move things around in algebra. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple of these. So actually I will just clear the screen. So the question is, make the circled term the subject of the equation. Now the subject of the equation, I'll do the first one so you know what I mean. Okay, so we have 3 plus 2 equals 5. And let's say I circle the 2. Okay, so what I would want you to do in the answer is to make 2 the only thing on the left hand side of the equation. So 2 equals 5 minus 3. Okay, so this is the answer. Okay, 2 equals 5 minus 3. So you have just made the number 2 the subject because it is the only thing on that side of the equation. Okay, so let's do 10 plus 2 equals 12, and I want 10 to be the subject. 6 plus 7 equals 13. Let's make 7 the subject. Let's do something different. 25 minus 10 equals 25 minus 10 is 15, so 5 plus 10. And let's make 5 the subject. Just trying things out. And I want to try to see if you can do one involving multiplication. So 6 times 3 equals 18, and let's make 3 the subject. Let's do a divide one. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. Let's make 4 the subject. See if you can do these ones. They're a bit more challenging. So keep in mind, I don't actually want you to solve any equations. I just want you to move the terms around the equal sign so you get comfortable with doing that. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll come back to the video. Okay, so now that you've had a few minutes, let's do the first one here. 10 plus 2 is 12. We want to make 10 the subject, so 10 equals 12 minus 2. Alright, all we've done is we moved the 2 to the other side. So that became the let me do the answers in another color. So that became minus 2. We want to move the 6 to the other side, so that becomes this is a positive 6, so when we move it to the other side it becomes minus 6. So 7 equals 13 minus 6. We want to make the 5 the subject, so this becomes 25 minus 10, and because we want to make this 5 the subject, we're going to move the 10 to the other side, which becomes another minus 10 equals 5. Okay, and here we have 3 equals 18 divided by 6. And here we have 4 equals 20 divided by 5. Okay, so the multiply and the dividing ones are slightly more complicated, but it's the same principle, right? We have 6 times 3. So if we have times 6 and we move it to the other side, it becomes divided by 6. Alright, and 20 divided by 4 is 5, therefore 20 divided by 5 must equal 4. So this one is a bit more advanced, but later on you will understand that as we go further into algebra. Okay, so a few more multiplication ones. So if we have something like 2 by 7 is 14, we can make 2 the subject, so 2 equals 14 divided by 7. Alright, because we've moved the 7 to the other side, so it becomes divided by 7. Alright, and if we have 20 divided by 5 equals 4, and we want to make 20 the subject, so we can rewrite it as 20 equals 4 times 5, right? Because we have divided by 4, and if you move the divide to the other side, it becomes times. Okay, so we can probably move on to the algebra straight away. Okay, so make x the subject and then solve for x. Okay, so question 1, x plus 3 equals 7. Okay, so what I want you to do is to make x the subject first by writing x equals 7 minus 3, and then 7 minus 3 equals 4. X equals 4. So that's what I want you to write as the answers. Don't skip any steps. Okay, don't just write the answer, because that's not the point. We want you to show the working out. Okay, so x minus 20 equals 30. X times 2 equals 12. X divided by 5 equals 4. And let's do 30 divided by x equals 5. Okay, so do them and then come back to see the answer. Pause the video. Okay, so we're going to make x the subject by moving the 20 to the other side, so it becomes 30 plus 20, which is 50. Moving the times 2 to the other side, so 12 divided by 2 is 6. Moving the divided by 5 to the other side, so it's 4 times 5, which is 20. And x equals 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Okay, so this concludes our first lesson in algebra, and basically you have learned a little bit about how to manipulate the terms in an equation. And if you're interested, come back to the next video and hopefully we'll learn some more algebra. Thank you for watching. See you next time.